Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Now, before I get into the news itself, this is a message for the UNC supporters and activists outside here. My dear UNC loyalists or fanatics, no one is implying that the PDOs, the preventive detention orders, are illegal. No one is implying that. The Privy Council needs to decide whether the imposing of an SOE to fight crime is constitutional in our democracy. Any government could pass a law, people, as long as they have sufficient votes for it. They can pass a law and it will become legal. It's a law, it's not a law, so therefore it's legal, right? It will be declared and it will become legal. The question is if that law is constitutional or democratic. My dear activists outside there who think you all are so intelligent, people like Gary Griffith and myself, are warning about and raising the question and alarm about whether this PDO and the usage or the implementing of an SOE to fight crime is that constitutional. And it definitely is that democratic, but is it allowed in our constitution to continue to impose an SOE just to fight crime? That is what we are addressing, and that is what we are concerned about, my dear UNC patriots outside there. So I said the Privy Council needs to decide whether the imposing of an SOE to fight crime is constitutional or in our democracy. We all need to know if a politician should have the power to sign a preventive detention order based on intelligence, even though there's no actual evidence to verify the state's claims. And you know, the UNC activists outside there like David Welch and so forth will continue to say, oh, there is evidence. No, there isn't. Because if there was evidence, they would have provided it to the courts. And we understand that you will not reveal it to the public. But to the courts needed to see. That's where the trial will take place and how you take it. And yet, the lower court judge said they criticized the government for not having sufficient evidence. The appeals court criticized the government as well for the same reason. And then most likely the tribunal decided that it was not necessary to keep these people behind bars because they were not seeing evidence to prove that there was an actual conspiracy to murder anyone. Do you understand that, my dear scholars outside there, the ones with the degrees and the diplomas and stuff like that? Rest assured that if you still don't understand the message many of us are trying to convey, you will suddenly see the light when the PNM begins to use the same law to lock up their opponents in 2030. That's the hypocrisy about it. They're pretending as though they don't understand what I am saying or what Gary Griffith is saying. But when that time comes, they will understand it very well and very clearly, and they will start to say police state and dictatorship and all kind of thing. Stop being naive and arrogant. No one, and the reason why I said arrogant, no one knows the future, my dear UNC people. It's very unlikely that the swing voter will ever vote for UNC again due to the significant errors being made by Kamala's administration. UNC needs the swing vote more than the PNM. I keep telling people this over and over again. PNM needs the swing vote, but in a smaller amount. Once their base goes out in large numbers, they will win along with with a small percentage of the swing vote. UNC, on the other hand, needs a large portion of the swing vote in order to be able to win, just like how they won this time around. So this kind of arrogant way people behaving right now as though, no, PNM not going to win again, so we can do whatever we want. That's exactly why you will lose, because people seeing that you're being bold-faced about it, UNC. This needs to stop. Kamala needs to fire Roger Alexander and this John Jeremy, Attorney General. I don't know if there's a way to fire the Commissioner of Police as well, but he's not part of the administration anyhow, you take it. But if there was a way to fire him as well. And Kamala herself should resign as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Allow someone with a more moderate way of thinking to be able to govern this country for the remaining amount of years, about 3.5 years, a little more than 3.5 years. Kamala, you are no longer fit to be Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Something has gone terribly wrong with you. Whatever bad qualities you had in the past is now shining bright like a diamond. You knew how to control it when you were younger, but it seems as though that part of your nature now has taken full control of you. Now for the news. Star Sabga will have to spend another weekend in prison before a judge determines whether she should be granted interim release. It's the same thing again. That's what happened to the Hadids. Now it's happening to Star Sabga. They were arrested around the same time, but the lawyers sadly didn't really push her case as much as they were pushing the Hadids. And that's how the cookie crumbles. The whole thing about it is, though, besides that, the dates would most likely wouldn't have been set for the cases on the same dates anyhow. So, while Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander lifted the preventive detention orders against Dominic Hadid and Genevieve Hadid yesterday, the one against 70-year-old Sabga remains in place. And that shows how vindictive this man is. Because you know most likely it's going to be the same thing that's going to happen. You know most likely it's going to be the same type of outcome with the lower court, with the appeals court, and then with the tribunal as well, Roger Alexander. You know it's the same thing because it's the same case. So why go through this whole process and waste time and keep this woman in prison when all you had to do was just revoke the preventive detention order? This man is evil, my dear fellow Trinidadians. When Sabga's application for interim release came up for hearing before Justice Vigil Paul, is short earlier this week, Attorney Gerald Ramdin, I tell you, I never trust that man, you know. Never trust that man. Representing Alexander, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the Office of the Attorney General requested time to respond to the lengthy affidavit filed in support of the application. Yeah, all right. We could understand that, dude. It was lengthy, so you need to review it. All right? Yeah, but that is why Roger should have been the one to revoke this whole thing and stop this nonsense from happening. Repeatedly stating that he was not seeking to prolong Sabga's detention, Ramdin questioned why her legal challenge was not pursued with the same haste as the Hadids. She should take that up with her lawyers, though. Sabga's attorney, Rishi Das, senior counsel, challenged the position. He said this is a fundamental rights case with the Court of Appeal, which the Court of Appeal has suggested should be dealt with extreme urgency. Yes, but you all did not really show the kind of urgency that you showed for the Hadids too. I guess you were preoccupied with them. But I mean, come on, you're a lawyer, so you need to be able to deal with all your clients in an efficient manner. We consider that there has been significant and egregious executive overreach in this case, he added. Of course, I agree with you. Justice Paul eventually agreed to give the state the weekend to respond to the affidavit. So sadly, this woman has to remain in prison for a few more days. He will then hear submissions on the issue at 2 p.m. on Monday. And most likely, I tell you, it's going to be the same thing again. So it will be the whole process. Through the application, Sabga's attorneys are asking Justice Paul to grant her house arrest under the same conditions ordered by a panel of the Court of Appeal for the Hadids last week. And of course, most likely that means that it will be approved. And then this man, this brilliant Roger Alexander will appeal it. Even though he knows it's going to be the same outcome, he will appeal it. And then after appealing it, most likely the tribunal will give its ruling by then. And then he will say, oh, I've seen the light. I saw the light. Yeah, all of a sudden, you see the light and realize, oh, the Privy Council tell him again that is not until sometime later this year they can be able to take up this case. And therefore, you know what? September coming right there, and it will end up running out of time. So it's best I end up revoking this PDO too. Eh? Roger, you couldn't use your brain to be able to figure that out now and just done the talk one time instead of wasting taxpayers' dollars to go to court. Eh, Roger? That is who, I tell you that this is the man who Kamala decided to put into one of the most powerful positions in the government. What were you thinking, madam? What were you thinking? My response, fear not, people. Fear not, Sabga will receive millions of dollars in compensation for wrongful arrest and false imprisonment in due time. Now, of course, I could be wrong. Maybe this time around, unlike 2011, the government had the right to just lock up people just so. But then again, I can be right as well. And a lot of people are saying the same thing. Gary Griffith and all say the same thing. This could cost the state millions of dollars in compensation. This government continues to abuse the authority by enforcing draconian laws which give them the power to use an SOE and PDOs to detain anyone as long as there's so-called intelligence of a crime being committed. But the problem is the intelligence isn't actually ending up providing any sorts of evidence. What the UNC fanatics refuse to acknowledge is the fact that the Court of Appeal criticized the state for approving of PDOs without any credible evidence, which could result in charges being laid. Continue with your ignorance and arrogance, my dear UNCs. You will never govern this nation again after 2030. Rest assured about that. Hopefully, though, hopefully by then our population will be mature enough to give a third party a chance, because PNM is just as deceptive and evil as this new Roger Alexander UNC. This is not even a Kamala UNC anymore, you know. This is Roger's party. So the PNM is just as evil. So don't clap all your hands, my dear PNM patriots, either. Nevertheless, if PNM wins, I will laugh at all the UNC activists who return to chanting police state. They love the police state right now, but only because Kamala in office. Dictatorship, they love the dictatorship right now, but because only why? Kamala in office. And Penny must go when TTBS starts to lock all of you up via PDOs. Don't come. I'm telling you, from now, Andy Williams and Lennox Smith, do not come talking about any pushback 8, 9, 10, you know. Don't do that, you know. Don't come and call for the people and them to come out and this is not about politics and we need to go and stand up for our democracy, because right now, you're not standing up for our democracy. You hear me? Good.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago. On Saturday, July 25, 2026, conditions will be variably cloudy and breezy with scattered thunderstorms across Trinidad and Tobago. Daytime temperatures will reach a high of 27 degrees Celsius with a low of 24 degrees Celsius at night. Real feel heat index temperatures will feel like 30 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius due to high humidity. Winds will be blowing from the east to southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour with higher gusts near showers. Mild Saharan dust concentrations will be present in the atmosphere throughout the day. The overall risk of rain is high at 70% with heavy downpours possible in localized areas. Open waters will be slight to moderate with waves from 1.0 meters to 1.5 meters in open areas and near calm in sheltered bays.
International news now. The Israeli military is on high alert and several municipalities announced they prepared public shelters as Israel enters a highly tense weekend amid fears the Iranian regime will attack the country as part of the escalating exchanges of fire with the US in recent weeks, because of course that's how the bullies are in Iran. They will not just fight against the US, you know, they're always targeting other neighboring nations and of course definitely America's closest ally, Israel. US President Donald Trump told Channel 12 News, I am considering a massive attack, bigger than ever before. I'm close to making a decision. We are all set for it. Just get it done and stop talking at Trump, because that's all you do. Talk. Right now you're acting though, so that's good. But as if you will finish the job, I doubt. According to Army Radio, the security forces are prepared, but still not at the highest possible alert levels, noting that no new instructions have been issued to the public. It is still too early to know with certainty whether we are on the eve of another campaign against Iran. But we are definitely in a holding pattern, a senior official told Army Radio. We are dependent on President Trump's decision, and once he makes it, we are prepared to act. Following a string of Palestinian terror attacks and amid concern of imitation attacks, as well as revenge by Israeli citizens, civilians, the IDF has raised its level of preparedness across Judea and Samaria. And yes, people, it's not West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria. Deploying additional troops and cancelling weekend leaves. So you're hearing that because you're not going to hear that on any other station. No other station, no other channel, no other YouTube channel, probably except people like Amr Safati and so forth. But I'm talking about locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not just to protect the Israelis, it is to protect the Palestinian civilians as well. Because after the terrorist attack took place, Israeli civilians will feel threatened and decide to sometimes they take the law into their own hands vigilante justice is always wrong. And that's why the IDF there will be there to protect both the Israelis and the Palestinians from any sort of violence outbreaking. Do you understand that? Following the terror attack early Friday in the area of Tel, IDF soldiers began preparing for extensive counter-terrorism operational activity in the sector. Accordingly, soldiers leave, which is like time off and whatsoever, across the sector has been postponed, vacation and stuff like that. And reinforcement of soldiers across the sector has been implemented, the IDF said. You'll get to rest some other time though, don't worry. You're protected and covered in Jesus' name. It also said that 5 additional companies of troops were deployed to Judea and Samaria following the shooting incident that day.
Bible quote of the day. Psalm 4:6-8. True joy and peace from God. Many people say, who will show us better times? Let your face smile on us, Lord. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain and new wine. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, will keep me safe.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.